Okay, here we go. This is just going to be me. Sorry. This is going to be me talking and going on with a review of my most favorite game of all time, a live review, and then we'll have our live question-a-thon. And boy, have we got quite a few questions right here. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, when I approached what game to review, I wanted a game that really helped to had a major impact on my growth as a gamer. And I thought, what game influenced me the most? What game really made me the gamer that I am today more than any other? And you would think it would be a Nintendo game, but it isn't. Okay, because at this time Nintendo made games that, you know, that I liked and that influenced me, but, you know, I'll save the Nintendo review for when I get a little bit of a bigger install base. The game that I'm going to review today is a game that when I hear someone say they haven't played this game, I look at them like if someone told me they hadn't read Catcher in the Rye or To Kill a Mockingbird or Mark Twain or Huck Finn. These are games that, or sorry, not Mark Twain, like Huck Finn or any of those types of books. This game basically is a seminal game that really, you can't really call yourself a gamer if you haven't at least heard of this game, much less if you haven't played it. So without further ado, let's get into it. The title of this game is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is one of the best games ever made. Period. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. A little bit of history before we get into the plot, graphics, music, all of that awesome stuff. First, the game was released in March 11th, 1995. I didn't get my copy until 3 years later. Funny story about that. Now, Chrono Trigger was made with a dream team of developers. Okay, it was made with a dream team of like the best of the best that Square Soft had to offer at that time. Basically, here's what happened. Hironobu Sakaguchi, you may have heard of him. He was the guy who basically made all those wonderful Final Fantasies that we as RPG fans came to know and love. Got together with Yuji Ori, aka the dude in charge of Dragon Quest, and basically Akira Toriyama, the guy who did most of the artwork, well, most of the artwork for the Dragon Ball and like 50% of the artwork for the Dragon Ball Z franchise. They got together, traveled around, had a spiritual journey, met up with another dude named Katsuhiko Aoki, and they basically made, you know, along with 50 to 60 Squaresoft developers, one of the best games of all time. Now, you know, Chrono Trigger is perfect. It's just a perfect RPG. It's damn near a perfect game. So let's get into the plot. Oh, and yes, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't played it, why haven't you played this game yet? The plot starts out rather simply. Your main character is a young man named Chrono who apparently is mute throughout most of the game, who wakes up in his room. His mother wakes him up, opens the blinds, tells him to get up. Today is the day of the Millennial Fair. So Chrono gets up. Before he leaves, you can talk to your mother, Chrono's mother. She gives him 400 G's and sends him to the fair. Now, it's at this point that the game is kind of open. You can go practically anywhere. You can go into a forest, fight some enemies for some money, try and go into the castle. You can go to a cathedral. You can go to you can take a boat to the southern continent and talk to people around there. You can buy some weapons. Basically, it's a very open world at this point. I mean, there's limitations because you have to move the story along. But, I mean, there's really, you don't have to start getting into the story at this point. But, so anyway, he goes to the fair. He bumps into Marl, who turns out to be the princess of the Guardia Kingdom, which is the kingdom that Chrono lives in, the kingdom of Guardia. And basically, at this point, the shit has hit the fan because, you know, later on, events transpire that basically, depending on what you do while you're hanging out with Marl and what you do at the fair, can greatly determine whether you are sentenced to death or sentenced to live at a trial. Later on in the game. But anyway, so Chrono hangs out with Marl. They do some events until his best friend, Chrono's best friend's event opens up, which is this transportation pod that sends a person from point A to point B. Unfortunately, when Marl volunteers to go into the transportation pod, the energy from the transportation pod interacts with her pendant, a very special pendant, which is actually a relic of a bygone age, and creates a time hole, which basically sucks her inside. It's at this point that Chrono does what any selfless hero does: walk up, pick up her amulet, her pendant, put it on his person, and jump into the and tell Luca to start that shit up so he can go after her. This starts one of the most grandest adventures in video gamedom. It has everything. It has you meeting an ancient cursed knight who also happens to be a master swordsman. It has you meeting a robot from the future, a humanoid robot from the future, I might add. An evil dark magician who's not quite as evil as you might think. Let's see, who else? A cave woman from the far-flung past who is stronger than anyone could possibly ever imagine. You know, just a wide array of characters, all trying to basically figure out what's going on. Ultimately, through your adventures, you discover that in the far-flung past, this gigantic creature crash-landed on your world and has been basically manipulating events throughout the history so that it could absorb enough planetary energy in order to create its own young and then send them out to other planets. And how your characters are going to stop it. That's it. That's the whole point of the game. Your characters are trying to stop this creature from completing its reproduction cycle. It's named Lavos by Isla, the prehistoric woman from the far-flung past. She basically just comes to the conclusion that, hey, she's going to have to... she joins you. Robo joins you. He's the robot. Frog's my favorite character in the game. He joins you. He wields the mighty magical sword, the Mas Mune, which actually has two magical beings bound within it, and it's made out of some mystical material that is anathema to Lavos. So basically, and magic in general, but anathema to Lavos and magic in general, which is pretty damn cool. The game basically has your characters doing all types of side quests in order to not only get strong enough to face Lavos, but making the world right, righting wrongs, and making the world right. And as you do this, things that you do in the past affect things in the future, and which is really kind of cool. One of the side quests in the game has you basically getting a sunstone and leaving it like in this one location for a very long time until it's fully charged, and then you can use it to make some really powerful weapons. I mean, just basically the game is just very well made. and you don't see that a lot of days. So now that we've covered the general storyline with a few spoilers thrown in, let's get into the graphics. The graphics, as I said, were done by Akira Toriyama, or I should say Armor Bird Studios, which is basically his studio, and he also did a lot of the work. So a lot of the characters look very familiar if you're a Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z fan. The dinosaurs look like stuff from out of Dragon Ball. The final boss looks like Cell in one of his forms. Robo looks like something from Capsule Corp. Luca looks kind of like Bulma except with glasses. And Chrono, when he uses his special magical attacks, looks like a Saiyan. And Isla, hell, she looks like a Saiyan when she uses a dual tech with Chrono, because guess what? She's got a tail, her hair is blonde, she gets all lightning-y. She looks like a Saiyan. I'm sorry, she looks like a female Saiyan. Basically, the graphics in this game are awesome. It's different. It's vastly different from Dragon Balls, from Final Fantasy. The characters look more cartoony, far more manga-ish. Whereas if you looked at the character sprites in most Final Fantasy games, they looked a little off, fugly. They tried to go for a realistic look on a 16-bit console, and it just didn't work that well. But basically, the graphics, you know, I mean, they aren't, they might not be everyone's cup of tea, but at the time they were top of the line, and especially they put mode, almost all 11 modes to the max on the 32-bit megabit cart that they used to put this game out on, which leads me to the music. Oh my God, the music! The music for this game was done by Yatsuhida. Here, let me make sure I get his name right, because I don't want anyone. The music for this game was done by Matsuhida. Shoot. Let's see. Matsuhida. Yeah, no, it was Yasunori Mitsuda, and he did a lot of the music, and then he fell ill like towards the end of the development process, and it got taken over. His duties got taken over by Nobuo Uematsu, not Nobuo, the guy who basically does all of Final Fantasy's music, or did all of Final Fantasy's music back in the day. Which is kind of cool. So, anyway, which leads me to the rest of this music. The music in this game is iconic. Literally, you can listen to orchestrated Chrono Trigger music, and it sounds just it's the shit. Right now, or after you watch this video, if you want to, you can friggin' go on YouTube and put in orchestrated Chrono Trigger music, and you will, I mean, it is the bomb. You can go on Groove Shark and listen to it. If you have iTunes, you can listen to it, I think. Just Chrono Trigger music is just awesome music to listen to. I'm personally a fan of Frog's Tune, but the actual Chrono Trigger music, just all of the music in this game is awesome. The final boss music, the battle themes, just everything in this music, just musically, just hits everything you want to hear. Everything sounds like it should. It goes with what's going on in the game at that time. Which leads me to my final thoughts about this entire game. It's damn near perfect. The gameplay is perfect. The story is perfect. Oh, the gameplay. It utilizes a very different system than other games of the time. There are no random battles, really. Everything is orchestrated. So basically, enemies will respawn in an area, so you can come back and grind if you want to. That being said, there are a lot of enemy encounters. You can see the enemy, you can dodge them, and you don't have to fight them. And they utilized a new special ability in the game called techs, which are basically your magic attacks or special attacks. But there's an added wrinkle that makes the techs really awesome. You can do cooperative technical special abilities like dual techs and triple techs. Dual techs are things like X Strike, where Frog and Chrono will do a sword slash that forms an X, or the Slurp Kiss, which would be Frog and Isla doing an attack that heals everyone for a large amount of health. Basically, the dual techs are powerful, but the most powerful techniques in the game are triple techs, and most of the really, really good ones you need a special item equipped in order to use. So there's a large amount of strategy in this game. Another cool wrinkle in the game is that at the very end of the game, after you beat it, is New Game Plus mode, which basically lets you keep all of the non-essential story to the story stuff from that game, from your previous playthrough. You can carry it and start the game all over again. Same level, same non-essential item. So basically, you can have the second or third most powerful equipment and start playing all over again, just mowing down enemies. Now, why is this important? Because the game has like 14 to 15 endings. 14 if you're playing the original versions, 15 if you're playing the DS version. Basically, this game has a ton of replay value. When it was originally released, it was like $60 or $70, depending on where you were. I got my copy for $50 at a yard sale. Well, no, it wasn't a yard sale. It was one of those flea markets where they have a section for like local people to come and sell stuff. And there was a lady there selling her kid who had just gone to college's stuff, and she was selling. She originally wanted like $80 for it. My dad talked her down to like 50, and so I got my copy of Chrono Trigger for $50, which I guess was a steal at the time for physical copy of that game. But the gameplay is top notch. It's the characters, the user interface is a bit simple for an RPG. Your characters can only equip a helmet, a weapon, armor, and an accessory. There isn't like a ton of stuff your characters can be equipped with, but it's their interaction with each other and the stats and how things go along. It's very intuitive. It's kind of almost a simplified RPG in that regards, kind of like Earthbound or Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. But its simplicity belies a depth that's very in-depth about that game. So, the conclusion. In conclusion, basically, Chrono Trigger is one of the best games ever made. The characters are top-notch. The story is top-notch. The graphics are top-notch. The music is just beyond top-notch. It's excellent. It really holds its own in ways that just cannot be doubted. So now that we've gone over that, where can you get Chrono Trigger? Well, if you're not a lucky bastard like me and have the original copies, there's tons of options. There's the Virtual Console. You can get it off of the VC for like I want to say $7, $8, $9. You can get it off of PSN for like $7, $8, $9, $10. You can get it off of the I don't know how much it costs, but I know you can get it off of the iOS or the Android, although why you would want to play a game like this on a phone, I'll never understand. So, yeah, you have a lot of choices to get this game, and it is a good game. Don't let this game pass you up. Now, on to the questions, and we've got a doozy amount of questions here. Okay, then, let's get this party started. Okay, question one. I'm not reading these questions in the order that I got them. I'm just reading them as they're on the list. So if this is not the first question that was posted, forgive me. I'm just reading them as I see them. Question. This comes from Butterworthy. Question: if you would choose any fictional character from medium to be in Smash Brothers, who would it be, why, and what would their final Smash be? Well, I'm just going to say it like this. My favorite character that I really want to see in Smash Brothers, who like probably wouldn't be on there but would just really make my day, is a split. Okay, it's a split between two characters, and I know this is kind of cheating, but both of these are really useful. The first one is Vise from Skies of Arcadia Legends, which was an awesome game that was originally on the Dreamcast and then ported over to the GameCube, and it's an excellent port. It improves in every way of that game. I have both versions. It improves in every way on that game. The port does, and you know his. I like him as a character because I think that if they put him in the game, he'd be a nice counterpoint to Sonic, another Sega character in there. I think that game was woefully didn't do as well as it should have because, in my opinion, it's better than Final Fantasy VII, which was its competition at the time. And his final Smash would be either him doing his crew special attack from the game, where he basically summons his crew to help him out, but that would be kind of weird because most people don't know who the hell those people are. or him just saying, going in the first-person view with his visor and like painting targets, and then having his ship go by and blast them with like stuff, and then hit them with the Moonstone Cannon, which basically was like the most powerful special attack in that game. It was awesome. The other character I'd like to see if would be Earthworm Jim, just because it's friggin' Earthworm Jim. He's an icon of the 16-bit era. I would like to see, his final Smash would be him just eating people like he did in Earthworm Jim 2, where he fought Bob the Killer Goldfish. The second question comes from Drone Crusher. Got a question for you, Red Fox. How are you going to feel when I kick your ass in Smash Brothers when it drops later on this year? Okay, I have a counter question to your question, Drone Crusher. It's not how I'm going to feel when you kick my ass. It's how you're going to feel when I kick your ass. I'm joking. Basically, I'm looking forward to Smash Brothers. I really am. And if I'm playing for fun with people, I don't care. If I'm playing for glory, I will probably play a bit more serious. But if I'm playing for fun, I don't care about wins or losses. Okay. These next questions come from Gotitos. If I butchered your name, I'm sorry, but maybe it's Gotito Z. But okay. Can you discuss in more depth the PS Now price model, and what do you think is going to happen to the platform if they go through with this pricing model? Well, the pricing model is bullshit. It's basically $5 it's $5 for 4 hours of gameplay, $10 for like 7 days, $15 for like a month, and like $30 for 90 days. The problem with this pricing scheme in general is that a subscription fee works when the games you're using, when it's like a flat thing. Like Netflix is like $15 a month. I don't have to ask any questions. It's just $15 a month. I get all the movies and like more movies than I could ever possibly watch. Even if I just vegged out and didn't do anything for a week, I would never get through even 10% of the movies available on Netflix, and like the good ones, because I mean not everything on Netflix is awesome. What do I think is going to happen to the platform if they go through with the pricing model? It's going to fail. It's going to fail. They're going to have to adjust the pricing, or like go to a flat model, and it'll just be all second and third tier games, because no one's going to put first tier games on a thing that's like $20 a month, and you have access to all these AAA games that cost millions of dollars to make, and the only people getting money out of it is Sony and the companies that they're licensing the game from. Is there any updates from famous Castlevania producer that was fired or resigned from Konami? What would a Metroidvania game sponsored by Nintendo would be like, or do I wish they'd make? Well, I haven't heard anything about the dude who made all those awesome Castlevania games. I think he's making a game. He just can't show it yet. What would a Metroidvania game sponsored by Nintendo be like, or that I wish they'd make? Well, um, personally speaking, I'd like to see a um, if you've played a Legend of Zelda game, that's kind of a Metroidvania game, except it's not a platformer. Um, it's a most of them are top down on portables and large, open, expansive worlds, not portable. Um, if Nintendo was to make a Metroid game, I'd like them to use one of their franchise characters that they haven't used, like maybe Captain Rainbow. I don't know, which was only released in like Japan, because I've never played a Captain Rainbow game. I saw some gameplay of it, saw it was fun. I'd like to play it, but can I provide my thoughts on the following games that were revealed at E3? Devil's Third, Splatoon, Bayonetta 1 and 2. Devil's Third looks fun. It looks like it's going to have to be polished a little bit more, but I have no doubts it's going to be fun. Because even though I'm not a huge fan of Tobunobu Itagaki, I really don't like his take on Ninja Gaiden, but I mean, his games aren't technically flawed, even though he has this preponderance for women with big breasts. I mean, I'm a heterosexual man. I like women with big breasts too, but I mean, Itagaki takes it too far sometimes. Splatoon looks awesome. I heard today that the director of the game might or might not have voice chat, but I hope they do, because that game could really benefit from voice chat. And Bayonetta 1 and 2. I never played Bayonetta 1 because I heard the superior version was on the Xbox 360, and there's no way in hell I'm buying an Xbox 360 or anything from Microsoft if I can avoid it, console-wise. So basically, the fact that they're now porting that over with all of these awesome additions to the Wii U, with it's going to be on the Virtual Console. I mean, it's going to be on the eShop. It's going to be a physical copy on the disc if you get the disc. I mean, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it when it comes out. I'm pre-ordering it. Can you discuss a possible buyout of Capcom by Nintendo and by others like Microsoft, Sony, and even Amazon? Okay, first of all, Nintendo's not going to buy Capcom. It's just like they just got things together as it is. I doubt they're gonna spend any money buying this junk on Capcom. Secondly, Sony could buy Capcom, but considering what they're going through, I don't think Kazurai could get away with it. Amazon's not going to buy Capcom because Amazon and Microsoft suffer from the same thing. See, in Japan, there's a economic law that basically says that like foreign companies can't own majority shares in Japanese companies. So Microsoft can't buy Capcom, thank God. Neither can Amazon. And frankly speaking, seeing what Microsoft did to Rare, I don't want them anywhere near Capcom's IPs. Basically, I think what's going to happen to Capcom is you're going to see maybe some type of foreign investment, some type of investment firm, like a hedge fund, is going to pump some money. Because the thing is that Capcom needs money, okay? They need money to keep running. And because, I mean, like, for every Monster Hunter or Street Fighter, there's like 4 or 5 flops. So you can't afford to have 4 or 5 flops. And they don't have the money to even get their IPs that would normally be making them money off the ground. So that's why they stopped the takeover defense, because they need money. Ubisoft. All I'm going to say about Ubisoft is this. They're a garbage-ass company. I'm not spending any money with them. And I glanced over some of these questions. You'll hear more about them later on. Would I tell you the size of my video game collection? Number of consoles and number of games per console. Okay. I'll tell you my non-NES, my non-Nintendo consoles, and then I'll tell you my Nintendo consoles in depth. I can't tell you exactly how many games I have for my non-Nintendo consoles because I keep those at my parents' house. because I just don't have room for them. Like even here, I don't have room for all the shit that I have. I have like a huge house. I don't have room for all those systems, and it's not just like that type of room. It's like I don't have the older type TVs to play a lot of these things. Like in my house, like I have very small older TVs. I don't have huge ones, so like I really can't keep all that stuff. But basically, I'll tell you I'll start with my non-system first. I have an MSX 3800 gaming PC from back in the day, I have Symphony of the Night for that, and a few Street Fighter games for that system. And interesting thing, Capcom made their original Street Fighter game on an MSX, which is why it ported so well to the MSX 3800. I have a third generation Atari 70 something, 7200, I believe. I like it. 7800. I like it. It's backwards compatible with the other two versions, the 5200 and the 2300, so I like it. It's good. 5600, 2300 cartridges, so I like it. I have a Intellivision console with like 3 or 4 games, nothing fancy. I have a PC Engine Duo CD and normal cue card cartridges. I have a Sega custom that plays the Sega cue cards and cartridges, the original Sega custom and cue cards. I have a Sega Genesis, a Sega CD, and a Sega Dreamcast. I skipped the Saturn and the 32X because by that point I was like, no more. There's too much shit coming out of this thing. It's using too much power. I have a PS1, a PS2, and a PS3. Those are my non-Nintendo consoles. My Nintendo consoles are a bit more extensive. I have a Famicom with the disc system. I have a NES. I have a Super Famicom and an SNES. I have the N64. I want to get the disc drive for that, but I can't seem to find one that's not in the best of shape unless I pay an arm and a leg for it. I have a, let's see, what else? I have a Virtual Boy with like 14 games. I have a GameCube, and I have a Wii, and I have a Wii U. And I have tons of Nintendo handhelds. And I'm not even getting into my non-Nintendo handhelds because I'd be here all day. Can I do an analysis of the YouTube community for video games, especially the Nintendo Center members have evolved in the last few years? Expose some people. I'm not going to expose anyone. I'm just going to say this. The YouTube, because I'm new in the community myself. I just kind of got into this like last year, like the end of last year. What I do notice is this: there tends to be 3 groups of Nintendo gamers, Nintendo YouTubers on YouTube that I've noticed. You've got people who like are really gung ho with Nintendo, like really gung ho. People who are so gung ho that it's like Nintendo, like they're way too enthusiastic, and I don't mean like enthusiastic like I mean like they're just really enthusiastic. They didn't grow up in the culture of Nintendo, but they're enthusiastic now. These people tend to later come out to not be all that cool. Because they say later on that Nintendo left them behind, and they sell their Wii U, get something else, whatever. I mean, I've never sold any of my Nintendo systems, so I don't understand that mentality. Then you have the second type of Nintendo people that are a little bit more level-headed. Level-headed gamer would be a perfect example of this. Yeah, he plays Nintendo, but he can see all sides of the argument. Then you have people who claim to be Nintendo fans, but spend all their time bitching about Nintendo. I'm not going to name names, but you know what I'm talking about. People that are way too into graphics and shallow stuff like that, and not gameplay, but they, own gaming PCs but care about consoles. I don't get it either. Why did I start making videos on YouTube? I just wanted to just put my opinion out there for people to look at and see what I wanted, hear what I wanted to hear, what I wanted to say, and just what they thought about it. Have discussions, do podcasts, that type of thing. Can I speculate on what will happen E3 2015 based on what happened at E3 2014? Yes, I can speculate. Here's what's going to happen. Microsoft and Sony either going to do away completely with their press conference, or it's going to be like 30, 45 minutes, and the rest of it's going to be a digital presentation like Nintendo. A lot of the gaming media is going to say, brilliant, bravo, when Nintendo did the shit first. They're not going to give Nintendo credit for it. They're going to show a lot of CGI trailers, and people are going to be like, those are, smart gamers are going to be like, those are computer-generated images. Those aren't actual gameplay. Nintendo's going to show Zelda, Wii U, in playable state, and they're going to burn the house down as usual because, it's Zelda Wii U. Nintendo, if Eiji Aonuma can deliver Zelda Wii U, a playable demo of Zelda Wii U, and say at 2015 E3 that it's coming out later on that year, Nintendo wins E3 2015. I don't care if Microsoft says, look, we're selling the Xbox One for $200 and it comes with 5 games. Playable Zelda Wii U coming Christmas 2015 kicks everything else's ass. And Sony, I don't care what they show. Why is Nintendo the greatest of all time of video games? Nintendo is the greatest of all times of video games because Nintendo basically helped shape. They rebuilt the foundation of the video gaming industry. See, Atari destroyed it. Atari basically built a house, then burnt it down for the insurance money, and then the fire marshal found out it was arson, and they didn't get the insurance money. Nintendo basically went to the house and said, we can make this work, but we need to change how the game is played. And Nintendo put in quality control, and you can only have so many games a year, and this is what you need. Nintendo was very iron-fisted on a lot of things. These are family games. You need to make these types of things. But that foundation helped build the industry to a certain point. Then Sega came in, and they expanded it even more. Games aren't for kids. They're cool. With Sega does what Nintendo don't. Ultimately, though, Sega was kind of they fell under the weight of their own bullshit market hype, and also listening to the Western side of their constituency. Basically, if you listen to, Sega spent themselves into a ditch trying to keep up with newer stuff, like always trying to keep up with the Joneses instead of supporting what they had. Like if Sega had just skipped the 32X and gone to CD and gone to the Saturn, they would have been fine. And from the Saturn to the Dreamcast, they would have been fine. But the 32X, the Saturn, the CD, all of these different add-ons that were basically cost the same amount as a console within and of themselves hurt them badly. That's all I'm saying. So basically, Nintendo built the basics of this industry, and they're the only group of people that, they make games first. Like, you get a Nintendo quality game, you're getting high quality. You're not going to get some shit like, Splatoon is being made with 40 people. I'm not going to have to worry about it coming out and having to be patched 1 million times. Like, it's not going to be like Battlefield that has like a studio of like 400, like 200, 300 people, and it's still a glitchy piece of shit when it comes out. I don't have to worry about that with Nintendo because quality is what Our next question comes from KFD 3D. What do you think about Star Fox Wii U? Also, discuss how Star Fox Crying Fanatic should buy the game after all the noise about it. I think Star Fox Wii U is going to be awesome because traditionally Star Fox has sold well when it has showcased a neat hook Okay, the first Star Fox was the FX chip. The second Star Fox, the N64 reimagining, was Rumble Pack. The other two Star Foxes that came out really didn't showcase anything that was really, an interesting gaming mechanic. But the gamepad is a very interesting gaming mechanic, and I think if anyone can make this shit work, Shigeru Miyamoto can. For everyone who was saying they want a Star Fox, this better be the highest selling Star Fox in Nintendo history, because with all the bullshit I had to hear earlier this year from so-called Nintendo fans talking about how they wanted a Star Fox, you're getting a Star Fox, so shut the fuck up and buy it. Big Joe, listening to you and Francis talk about the PlayStation All-Stars made it very clear that Sony needs more first-party games. What kind of games would you like to see Sony come up with? I've seen a lot of people say that Xenoblade is the best RPG of the generation. What about Well, I guess you're going to say, what about anything else? Basically, Sony needs to go back to their base. Like, Nintendo right now is going back to their base. They're making the games that made them popular. And in doing that, they're going to get new people. Because people say, this is what Nintendo quality is. You got to play this. Sony needs to go back to their base. Sony has spent the tail end of the PS2, all of the PS3 generation, and now in the PS4 generation going after Microsoft's base. And, Microsoft can afford to take the hit. Sony can't. And Sony needs to go back to picking up people who actually, they need to make the quirky games that we know and love. They need to make the Power Rap of the Rapper. They need to make Jak and Daxter. I mean, the Last of Us is okay, but really, for me, I give a shit less about Last of Us. I'd rather have a new Jak and Daxter or a new Ratchet and Clank, and not a movie, an actual Ratchet and Clank. Wouldn't it be cool to have a huge Ratchet and Clank game? Maybe instead of being like 3 or 4 planets, have it be set in a solar system. Maybe have base building and ship building and just a huge amount of stuff. That'd be cool. I frankly could give a shit less about the other stuff they're making at this point. I'd love a new Power Rap of the Rapper. PlayStation needs to start doing their base IPs and stop trying to just showcase indies. Not that indies aren't good. They are good, but I mean, people go to consoles for exclusive content that is primarily first party. They aren't there for indies because I can get indies on my PC. I mean, I don't get a console for indies. I get a console for exclusives. Xenoblade is the best RPG of the generation. Because, I mean, Square Enix has fallen off the map. So, I mean, who else is making high quality RPGs? I mean, there's a lot of quality handheld RPGs, but generally it's like console style. Hands down, Xenoblade was the best console style RPG last gen, just because there weren't that many released. But it also is a really good game within of itself. If Drill Dozer, this comes from Lerna Durkinks. If Drill Dozer, GBA, and The Legend of Starfy both came to Wii U Virtual Console, would I be excited? I sure as Hades would. I would, and not just because I like those games. It's because I have them myself, and they are fucking awesome. Drill Dozer is made by, Game Freak. The same people did Pokemon, but Drill Dozer, you play a bandit who is in this mechanized suit that has a drill attached to it, and you can drill into stuff. It's a really good game. And Legend of Starfy is it's an older IP that's only been rarely brought to the U.S., but it's a really good game. It's very different from a lot of Nintendo's other games, but it's really good. Why do people hate things but then praise them years afterwards? This is from Morphball. Example: the GameCube and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Because people hate things because it's cool. You have to remember, when the GameCube came out, everyone was jumping on the PS2 bandwagon. When The Wind Waker came out, everyone wanted a realistic, gritty Zelda. What they got was cartoony Zelda, you know. And I'll be honest with you, I was one of those people. Man, I don't want to play cartoony Zelda. Actually, I was one of those people who didn't want to play a 3D Zelda. When Zelda Ocarina of Time came out, I was like, you know, I was coming off of playing Link to the Past. I was like, there's no way they can top that shit. But if there's one thing you can count on Nintendo doing, it's topping themselves. And they topped. I mean, Ocarina of Time doesn't top Link to the Past. It translates all of those tropes that you love about that game and puts them into a 3D world almost seamlessly, and it works very well. This next question comes from so people just do that because it's the bandwagon effect. Everyone else is doing it, so they do it too. This next question comes from Lerna Durkinks. What do I think of Braden Cole getting rid of his Wii U and still calling himself a Nintendo fan? I personally think he's just as bad as Shokyo. You know, I mean, it's his system. I mean, I spent $350 on my Wii U, and I could never think of selling it, unless I was about to be homeless or something. So, I mean, you never know someone's personal situation. You know, you can't. So if something terrible was about to go down, then maybe he has a very valid reason for getting rid of his thing. Thinking he's as bad as Shokyo, I don't think he's as bad as Shokyo. It's hard to be as bad as Shokyo. See, the thing is this. Braden Cole, despite all of his flaws, grew up playing Nintendo and Sega and like old school. Shokyo didn't do that. Shokyo didn't grow up playing these games. Like, and I know some people will say, I played N64. Yeah, that's not quite old enough. Okay, if you didn't start in the 8 or 16-bit generation, you aren't an old enough game player to be able to say you were with a company that long. And when you're old school, you understand the culture of a console, and you know the culture of these companies greatly determines what they do and how they act. Nintendo is a very conservative, Japanese, like old school. When Nintendo makes changes, they're very incremental, and you might say, well, they aren't doing anything, but in Japanese culture, when you have a problem employee, you don't just fire them or give them this huge ultimatum. You give them minor goals to accomplish that gradually change them from point A to point B, because radical change is very hard. Gradual change, much easier. And for some people, it's not, the change isn't fast enough, so they get upset at Nintendo. This next question comes from Morph Ball. Would you like a Deadpool game made by Platinum Games? I feel the one made by Blue Moon Studios had great humor but needed more fine-tuning in the gaming section. Yes, I would like a Deadpool game made by Platinum Games. And yeah, I would. I'd very much like to do that. I'd very much like that game. It was okay. The one made by Blue Moon was okay, but that game was rushed because they had the license and they needed to do a game. Activision had the license and needed to make a Deadpool game, or they wouldn't get paid or something like that, or they'd have to pay a penalty. So that was a rushed game. That's why it was like that. This one comes from Lerna Durkinks. Why do people listen to Shokyo, the fake Nintendo fan? He's a complete joke. I won't say he's a complete joke. I will say that, like I said earlier, if you don't understand the culture of a company, it's very hard to understand why they do what they do. For example, Sony is not a video game company. I mean, they're primarily an engineering company. Sony is all about putting as much new cutting-edge technology into something as humanly possible, and that's what makes it great. The problem is that with today's costs, that's not enough. I mean, you know, we had the economy tank a few years ago. It's just now starting to claw its way back. You can't, like, charge people an arm and a leg for something. Like, you can't charge someone perfect point. PS Now. You can't charge someone $30 to rent a game for 3 months when they can buy that same game off of your system for $20. That's just fucking stupid. And that's Sony. They just do a lot of stupid, clueless shit like that. And the reason people listen to Mr. Shokyo is because I learned this working on Capitol Hill for 2 years. People like to hang around people who think like they do. Okay? there are quite a few people who might not really be that overly fond of Nintendo itself, but like their games. The problem is that you can't separate the two. Nintendo games on Nintendo systems, they're one and the same. They're integrated. You can't, if you don't like Nintendo, you're probably not going to like their games, generally speaking. And what arcade machines do I have at my bar? Oh, God. This is another one from Learner Kinks. Basically, I have like 80 arcade... Well, no, I have 60 arcade machines and 20 pinball machines. And they're spread out between 2 locations. So... I can't really list all of them off the top of my head. I have all of the really popular non-violent arcade games, so like Dig Dug, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man Jr. I don't have Pac-Man Land. I do have Punch-Out, because why the hell not? I have a custom Killer Instinct cabinet. I have Space Invaders, Galaga, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong 2. I have multiple Donkey Kongs. You can find those anywhere. They're kind of it's hard to find the original Donkey Kongs that were converted from Radar Scope, but I got tons of the Donkey Kong Juniors. I got like 3 or 4 of those. I have a decent array of arcade machines spread out between 2 locations. Now, I don't have like 30 here, 30 here. I have like 20 in one location, 20 in another, plus like 4 or 5 arcade pinball machines. I like to keep a pool of arcade games like off scene so that I can switch out machines so that people have variety. Let's see what else. We have more questions. This is going to take a while. Okay, do I think Namco will support the Wii U? This one comes from Mario Walker. Do I think Namco will support the Wii U after Smash comes out? I want to be optimistic, but I doubt it because, I mean, let's be frank. Nintendo is giving these motherfuckers money to help make Smash Brothers, and yet they couldn't port Tales of Symphonia to the Wii U, nor Soul Calibur 2. So, fuck Namco. Do I think we'll see any Naruto games on the Wii U? I'm not a huge Naruto game fan. I like the show. I don't like the games. Well, no, I like the RPGs. The RPGs and platformers are pretty good. I don't like the fighting games. So, I mean, if we see some, we might see some. They'll probably be ports of shit that came out a year earlier. I could care less. I'm not going to buy it anyway. Okay, this one comes from KFD3D. Well, even though Itagaki argued with them, he did imply that he learned from them for the better. Iwata, a.k.a. Tommy, is beast. Itagaki's okay. I mean, here's the thing. I'm just saying that he said that he had to argue. I'm like, look, don't argue with the people who's made some of the best games of all times, because they can probably tell you some shit. Okay? Like, no one's ever made a bad game listening to Nintendo's advice, okay? Tons of people made shitty games that didn't listen to Nintendo's advice, though. Okay, this one comes from Unique Dark Side. What do I want to happen to the Nintendo Redirect movement? Do you think that their leader is a true Nintendo fan? What do I want to happen with the Nintendo Redirect movement? I would like them to completely go back to the drawing board and actually learn how to do positive change. Like, really, I have a degree in political science, a bachelor's in political science. I graduated in 3 years, and after I graduated, I worked on Capitol Hill for 2 years. I can tell you right now that I've had my share of going door to door, doing online petitions, trying to get people's attention for change and stuff like that. And like basically everything that you can do wrong to do something like this, they did wrong. And the thing is that if they had asked for advice, it could have been avoided. So, I would tell them to go back to the drawing board and actually look up how movements work, and maybe they can figure out something that works next time. Do I think that their leader is a true Nintendo fan? I already answered that question. What is my company? This question comes from Sean Brunson. I own alongside with one other partner. I originally had 3, but I bought out one of them. I own a majority share in a company called Entertainment Solutions. You can look us up if you want to. There'll be hundreds of them. Hundreds of us, so good luck finding us. I'm not going to have any YouTube stalkers. It's a barcade, a bar/arcade. We don't make that much money off the machines, but they get you in there, and then you buy drinks and eat because we have nice kitchens, and it's fun. It's a nice place where adults can go and drink, and it's like Dave and Buster's on a small scale, basically. And we have 2 locations. One location that we rent. One location that we bought one location that we went, one location that we bought, and we're working on a 3rd location where we're going to build our own space and own it outright, which means that I'll be able to, this will probably be our biggest location thus far, because we'll be able to design it to be perfect for our needs. Because the problem is that when you have a specialized type of business, you need a specialized type of place to put your stuff, and there hasn't been a new arcade built in a long time. So building a new location is kind of daunting. We thought we were going to get started this year, but the architect did some stuff, so now we had to get a new architect, and you don't want to hear about that. But basically, that's my company. Can you name one game that you played that I had buyer's remorse written all over it? I can name you 3. First, Assassin's Creed 3. I got that game on a whim because I'd played Assassin's Creed 2 and the first Assassin's Creed. I didn't own them, but I'd played them, and I was like, I'm gonna get this. This was when the Wii U had a dearth of games. There was like almost nothing, and I got Assassin's Creed 3. Oh my God, that game put me to sleep. I played it, I beat it, and the whole time I wasn't fighting Templars. It wasn't entertaining fighting Templars. It wasn't entertaining fighting Redcoats. It was fighting boredom because that game was so friggin' boring. Then I said, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe if it's another game in the series. I played the second game of that series, bored the hell out of me too. Assassin's Creed 4, oh God, worse. In my opinion. The second game that I had buyer's remorse about was Final Fantasy 13. Oh God. Luckily for me, I got that game on sale at GameStop for like $15, but I turned it back in the next day for got all my money back. And the third game that I've had buyer's remorse for buying. Not because I bought it, someone else bought it for me, was Shaq Fu, the original Shaq Fu for the SNES. And I'm a hoarder, like I never get rid of my games, but I fucking hate Shaq Fu. Shaq, I wish I could sue Shaq for that game. Okay, this next question comes from Albedo. Oh, sorry, that question came from 8Ball1970. This next question comes from Albedo238. I'm thinking about getting Xbox One this Christmas or sometime after that day, since there's really nothing coming to the PS4 worth getting this year. And the games the PS4 will be getting in 2015 don't look to be all that exciting or interesting either. I know I should trust my own opinion the most, but just wanting to get some advice on this. Do you think getting an Xbox One this year will be worth it? Personally, no. No. The really good games for both consoles, the Xbox One and the PS4, aren't coming out till 2015. Unless you're an ultimate Halo fan and you really want to play Halo, then I would get it just for Halo, but neither one of them have really impressive libraries at this point. This next question comes from 8Ball1970. Do I think Sony will get back on track in the portable gaming business? If you could acquire only one franchise from Capcom for Nintendo, what would it be and why? Do I think Sony will get back on track for the portable gaming business? Hell no. Because Capcom has shown that they have no understanding of the portable gaming market. They don't. The PSP was a fluke, and it was also heavily pirated, so they lost money on that shit too. And then the Vita was just, they have no understanding of the portable gaming market. They don't. I mean, and they shouldn't, because they didn't build the portable gaming market. Nintendo did. So if anyone should know how it works, it's Nintendo. If I could acquire one franchise from Capcom or Nintendo, what would it be and why? Mega Man, because I mean, shit, Capcom isn't doing nothing with it. So what? Hell, yeah, shit. Just putting Mega Man in Smash Brothers has done wonders for him. Imagine what would happen if Capcom actually made a fucking Mega Man game. This next question comes from Albedo238. Since it looks like Capcom has lost their touch with making fighting games these days, and it looks like the Wii U may never get such a fighting game from Capcom ever again, especially with how the third parties are screwing over Nintendo, how would you feel if Nintendo made their own Street Fighter style of fighting game with original characters for their system after seeing how the Big N is doing things themselves now? I mean, I love Super Smash Brothers a lot, but I've always been more of a fan of the Capcom fighters of the past. Super Smash Brothers comes in second, and seeing how the first game in the Super Smash Brothers series was originally to be named Dragon King, do you think Nintendo could make their own Street Fighter style of fighting game with that title? Thank you in advance if you decide to answer this question for me. Okay, well, it would be cool to see Nintendo make a like Street Fighter style fighter, but I don't think that's where their strength lies. I mean, it would be cool to see it. I don't think that's really their strength. That's not their wheelhouse, you know. I mean, I don't think it would be as good as Street Fighter, because Street Fighter, despite how much Capcom has milked the shit out of it, is the premier like 2D fighter. I mean, you've got Guilty Gear, but Street Fighter set the tone with Street Fighter 2. I mean, I know there's King of Fighters and NHK and all that stuff, but when you think of 2D fighter, I don't think Mortal Kombat. I think Street Fighter. So, I mean, it would be cool. So to answer your question, yes, it would be cool if Nintendo made their own thing, but I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, next question. Okay, that's all the questions from this question section. Okay, then, this next, I think we're on our list of questions. This question comes from Gotito Z. As a primarily 95% Nintendo gamer, the PS Now platform sounded interesting in theory to play PS first-party games without buying the console. However, after seeing the prices they asked for, I'm better off without trying those games. Furthermore, even if they lower the prices, let's say they have them or either add more days to the shown price, the platform is not appealing at all. I have limited time to play games, so I'd rather invest that time in Nintendo games. That's not a question, but good job. Do you think it's time for Kazuo? This comes from 8Ball1970. Do you think it's time for Kaz Hirai to part ways with Sony? What was your favorite arcade game of all time? Okay, I think that Kaz Hirai is not a bad CEO. The problem is that Kaz Hirai has not proven that he can turn around a struggling division. Okay? He's not proven this, okay? Like, if Sony was healthy and Kaz Hirai was the CEO, he'd be perfect. But Sony's been pissing away money for 15 years due to bad decisions made 20 and 25 years ago. And it's going to take more than Kaz's 5-year plan with his Kaz Dream Team to fix this shit. This is rot that goes deep. And I don't think Kaz Hirai is equipped to do it. And this isn't the type of thing where you want to do it. I'm learning how to do this shit on the job. Like, you need someone who can hit the ground running with this type of shit. So, I mean, he's not doing too well. I'm sorry. He's not doing too well. What was my favorite arcade game of all time? That's easy. It's Gauntlet Legends for the Midway, not the original Gauntlet Legends that was on the Atari, but the Midway version that was in arcades that like had a really good port to the N64 and a shitty port to the PS1. That's like my favorite arcade game of all time, mostly because it's so damn fun. I sometimes will plug it in at the storage unit where I go like every 2 or 3 months and test out my games, make sure they still work and everything. I'll plug it in and play it for like 2 or 3 hours because I'm crazy like that. Okay, this next question comes from Albedo238. Hey Fox, I don't know if you heard about this juicy bit of info from PlayerEssence.com, but apparently Shulk is pretty much confirmed to be in both versions of... Okay, that's not a question. Sorry, I thought it was a question. Sorry. This next question comes from Guy Man Super. Who do I think should buy Capcom? No one. No one should buy Capcom. I already said this. Look, there is a rule. Okay, if I had to have anyone buy Capcom, like money was not an option, I would want Sega to buy Capcom. I would want Sega to buy Capcom because Sega bought Atlas and they have not fucked with Atlas. They're like, do your thing, we'll just give you money, and that's how it should be. Like, I don't want people like doing all types of like, if Sony bought Capcom, they would basically turn Capcom into their bitch more than it is now, and that would be terrible. If Microsoft bought Capcom, well, I shudder to think because look what they did to Rare. I mean, we all saw what Capcom did to Rare. I mean, what Microsoft did to Rare, and I would hate to see that done to Capcom. That would really just ruin video gaming for me. That concludes all of our questions for today. It was awesome. I'm glad you joined me for my live review of Chrono Trigger. Like I said, if you really want to hear the awesome music to that game, search Chrono Trigger on Groove Shark or Chrono Trigger Orchestrated on Groove Shark or YouTube. You'll hear, your ears will be in for a treat. And if you haven't played that game, why haven't you played that game? You can even get it on iOS or Android, although why you would want to play Chrono Trigger on iOS or Android, I'll never understand. You can get it. I bid you guys a good night and good day.